Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Snowbeck, and today we're going to do Unit 1, Lesson 1. It's called Points, Lines, and Planes. And when I think of a map, I picture points, lines, and planes. This is an example of a metro, like subway system in Washington, D.C. And you can see there's some points, like right here, there's a dot. There's some lines, for instance, the actual route that the subway takes. And then there's the plane, which is the whole map or the flat surface. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. A point, it's a location with neither shape nor size. And so I'm going to draw an example. You might have a little dot with a capital letter next to it. That is point A. And the way you name it is you can say either A, or you could actually write out the word point and call it point A. So either one of these two would work to name that point. Let me show you an example of what a line might look like. So a line could possibly look like this. It might have points on it. It will definitely have arrows on the ends because lines are made up of points. They have no thickness or width, but they go forever in two directions. And through any 2 points, there is always one line. So one way that I could name this line is I pick 2 of the points on it. So for instance, I could call this line AB with that double arrow above it. I could also call this line AC or line BC. So any 2 points, but you never use 3. You'll only pick 2 of the points on there. The other thing that you might see is you might see a little cursive letter. I call it a script letter on the end. And notice it is not point M. There's no dot by it. M is naming the entire line. So another way that I could name this line is I could say M or line M. Next, we have planes. A plane is a flat surface. It's made up of points that extend indefinitely in all directions. Like lines go in 2 directions, these flat surfaces or planes go in all directions. And there is exactly one plane through any 3 points not on the same line. Let's try to draw a plane. It's a little tricky because it goes in all directions forever and it's basically humanly impossible to do that. But I'll just draw something that looks kind of like this, like a parallelogram. I'm going to put some points on this plane. I'll put A, B, and C on there. So if I wanted to name this plane, I need to pick 3 points that are not in a line, okay, not in a straight line. So in this case, I could call it plane A, B, C. And you do want to write the word plane in front of the letters. The other thing that could happen is you might have a script letter or a cursive letter, capital letter, down in one of the corners of the drawing. So for instance, you might have like a cursive Q down in a corner. Now notice there is no dot by that Q. So that Q is not naming a point, it's naming the whole plane. So that's the other thing that you might see is you might see like a cursive capital letter naming a plane. Here's a couple more vocabulary words. Collinear. So you see the word line in here. Collinear are points. If you have collinear points, they're points that lie on the same line. So if points are collinear, they're right in a row, right in a line. So for instance, you might have some points like this that are all right in a row. If you have coplanar points, you're going to have points that lie on the same plane or the same flat surface. So again, you might have a flat surface and you might have lots of points all on that surface. Please pause the video and try to fill in the blanks for these 2 statements. When you're done, unpause the video. The intersection of 2 lines. You can see the picture right here, you guys. 2 lines are going to intersect at a point. In this case, it's point P. So line L and line M intersect at point P. Or number 2, the intersection of two planes is a, now remember, planes are supposed to go off in every direction forever and ever, so even though we can't really draw that, you have to imagine them being extended. So two planes are going to intersect along this, which is going to be a line. It's going to go forever. So a line. So at the bottom of the front side of your sheet, will you take a minute and tell me a floor, a push pin, and a corner, or the intersection of two walls, what are they most like? Are they most like a point, a line, or a plane? Pause the video and then unpause it after you've answered. So I would say a floor is most like a flat surface or a plane. A push pin is kind of like a point. If you put a push pin on a map, it would be marking a city perhaps, or a point. And then the intersection of two walls, where two walls meet, that is most like a line. So this is what your homework is going to be like, kind of like number 6 and 7 here. They're going to give you a picture and then you have to answer some questions. So for instance, number 6, name a line containing point K. So I notice point K right there. And I have to name a line that contains that point, or what line is that point on? So there's a lot of ways I could name this line. One way is I could call it line JK. Don't forget you need that special marking up above it. So you got to put the double arrow up there. Another thing I could have called this, or it says what is another way that I would name this, as I could call it line KL. Pick any 2 points that are on that line. I could also call it A, because you see this little script letter A next to the line? That's not point A, it's line A. It's naming the whole line. Number 7, name a plane containing point L. So we want to name a flat surface that contains this point L. Well, remember, you cannot pick 3 points that are collinear. They have to be not in a straight line. I'm going to choose these 3 points. They're all on that flat surface, so I'm going to call this plane KLM. A lot of times when mathematicians name lines and planes, they put the letters alphabetically. It's not required, but a lot of times you'll see it like that. The other way I could have named this plane, other than using 3 non-collinear points, is I could use this script letter down in the corner. It looks like kind of a cursive B. B is the name of the whole plane. Number 8, name 3 collinear points. I want you to look at that picture and see if you can find 3 points that are all in a straight line. If you thought A, B, D, I would say you're correct. So the only 3 points that are in a straight line there are A, B, and D. If you picked A, B, and C, they are not all in a straight line. That would bend. And so that would not be considered collinear. Next, are points A, B, C, and D coplanar? Well, they're not all on that flat surface K, but if you can imagine taking like a big piece of tagboard or something and laying it so that it could possibly touch all of these at the same time, is it possible to have a plane touch all of those 4 points? It's kind of a trick question, but the answer is actually yes. They are coplanar. Even though they're not on plane K, they are on their own flat surface. Again, kind of a trick question. Number 10, identify the planes in this picture. All right, so one of them is obvious, and that's K. That's one of the flat surfaces. However, the trick here is you could also have a second plane. The second flat surface shows up, for instance, plane ABC. Do you see how that also is a flat surface? Those 2 questions, numbers 9 and 10, quite tricky. So if you didn't get those, don't feel too bad. On your own, will you go ahead and pause and try number 11, all 3 parts? Cool, so let's find line BD is right here, and line AC is right here. Now remember, lines go on forever. So if I extend these, where do they intersect? Where do they cross? Well, they cross at A, point A. How about K and AD? All right, let me erase my stuff here. K is the whole flat surface, and line AD comes down and boom, right there, it hits the flat surface. How do I know that? Because of these dotted lines. So it hits there and goes underneath and then comes back out the bottom. So line AD touches the plane or intersects the plane at B. And last but not least, this one also is a little tricky, I feel like. What's the intersection of K and M? Well, K is the whole flat surface, and M is this line. And I feel like M is laying on that flat surface, on K. So how much of M intersects with K? All of it. So your answer is M. The whole line intersects the plane. So we're going to wrap up this section by drawing a few things. And if you're not an artist, don't worry about it. Neither am I. I can't draw like humans or animals, but I can draw some of this geometry stuff. So let's practice. Draw and label a figure for each relationship. N intersects plane P at point I. Okay, so we have to label everything too. I'm going to start by drawing plane P. Now remember, to draw a plane, we basically drew a parallelogram. Now this is plane P, so down in one of the corners, I'm going to put kind of a cursive looking letter P. Now line N has to come down and intersect the plane at point I. So I think we're going to have a line that comes down and hits the plane. And when it hits the plane, then we're going to dot it until it comes back out the bottom. Now the name of this line is N, and the point where it hits the plane is I. So there it is. N intersects plane P at point I. Let's try 13. Lines B and Y are coplanar in plane Q. All right, let's just stop there and try to draw that. So plane Q, I'm going to draw a flat surface. And down in one corner, I'm going to call it Q. So lines B and Y are coplanar, meaning they both have to be in this plane, but they do not intersect. That means they're going to have to be parallel to each other. So maybe line B looks like this, and maybe line Y looks like this. They do not intersect with each other, but they are coplanar. They're both in the flat surface of Q. Line X, I'm starting on the next sentence now. Line X intersects line B at point C, and line Y at point D. All right, you guys, we're going to have another line, line X, and it has to intersect B, and it has to intersect Y. So in other words, it has to cut through them. Now that line is going to be X. There's two more things we have to add to this picture. We have to add the C and the D. So X and B intersect at C, and X and Y intersect at D. Cool, very geometry looking. I love it. Our last one, and perhaps our most challenging drawing. R and B intersect at line XY. Notice these are capital letters and they're cursive. That means they're planes. This is plane R, and this is plane B. So we're going to have two flat surfaces, and they're going to intersect. I'll show you how I draw it. Probably some of you can do this better than I can. But the first one, I'm going to draw three sides of a parallelogram. So go ahead and copy what I'm doing. Now the fourth side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go solid, dotted, solid. All right, now I'm going to draw three sides of another plane. So watch how I do this. I'm going to go like this. Now notice how right here it ended where the dotted line ended, or it went through where the dotted line ended. All right, now for the fourth side, we're gonna go solid, and then when it hits there, we're gonna go dotted, and then we're gonna go solid. Next, we're gonna put a dot right here and a dot right here, where those two planes look like they intersect. And then we're gonna connect those, like so. If you miss your dot, hey, just make it bigger, no biggie. Now, those two spots have to be called X and Y. So planes R and B intersect at line XY. So one of these planes can be R, and one of these planes can be B, and it doesn't really matter which is which. And there it is, our lovely drawing, our intersection of two planes. Here is what a computer drawing might look like of that same thing. So a little better than mine, but basically the same idea. Awesome, you guys finished your first video. So tonight or next, you're gonna practice. So Unit 1, Practice 1. Also, don't forget you need to get your syllabus signed. So get that, look it over, you sign it, have a parent look it over and they sign it. Also, be working on getting a calculator. We recommend the TI-30. The TI-30 for geometry. If you already bought a graphing calculator and it's the TI-84 Plus, that is awesome. That's the one you're gonna need next year. It's required for Algebra 2, but for this year you will be just fine with the TI-30. If you already have the TI-84 Plus, that is awesome. It will work great for geometry as well. If you're a person who's taking notes on paper, work on getting a 3-ring binder or a folder to keep all those things in. So good luck. If you get stuck on the homework, give me a message. Thanks a lot, you guys. Bye.